Hey there guys, I'm Kieran and welcome to another episode of Kieran's Movie Space. You might not know this, but I'm a massive fan of Spider-Man, and even though I don't play many video games these days, I couldn't resist buying and checking out the new Spider-Man game for the PS4. I'll even admit to buying a PS4 just so that I could play this game. When Spider-Man was first announced in 2016, I, like a lot of people, got really excited, and the thing that got me the most excited about this game was that it wasn't based on a movie. It doesn't follow any kind of preset formula, it's an original story that features Spider-Man and some of his most iconic villains. And how can someone not get excited about that? Fast forward 2 years and Spider-Man has finally been released on the PS4, but does it live up to the hype and meet my expectations? Let's discuss. The first thing that I want to say in this review, and I know that this has been said in other reviews, but this game really does make you feel like Spider-Man. When you're swinging around, beating up bad guys, and just doing Spider-Man things, you really feel like you're the infamous web slinger. I've played most of the Spider-Man games over the years, but none of them ever really made you feel like you were in Spider-Man's shoes doing the things that he does. So that was probably my biggest takeaway from this game. Web swinging is undoubtedly the aspect of this game that everyone is excited about, and I'm glad to say that the swinging is easily one of the most enjoyable elements of this entire game. Swinging through New York has never been so much fun, and they've done a great job of making web swinging feel easy for the gamer. It's so easy to just swing through the city, and it never gets boring to come up with various moves and utilize different methods of swinging. You can go for the classic Spidey swing, which feels fluid and natural, or you can shoot yourself to different objects and easily bounce from them and continue swinging. You can also run up or across buildings to build up momentum before jumping off and continuing to swing. It's really fun to bring all of these different methods of swinging together to create the most authentic and enjoyable Spider-Man experience. It's also worth noting that your webs actually have to attach to things. This isn't like the old Spidey games. If you're swinging through the city, you need to make sure that your webs can connect to a building. Then if you're in an area like Central Park, you'll need to stay lower so you can swing from the trees. You do get the option to fast travel to different areas, but you'll find that you'll never want to use it because swinging is so much fun, and unlike previous Spider-Man games, swinging never gets boring. The combat style for Spider-Man is very similar to the popular Arkham Batman games in the sense that you need to take down various groups of thugs that are spread throughout the city. Thankfully, it never gets boring to fight groups of bad guys, not only because it's endlessly fun to take down multiple thugs and come up with different combo moves to beat people up, but also because the developers have actually made this difficult. Certain groups of bad guys can do a lot of damage to Spidey, especially if you're up against a large group of thugs or guys that have shields and rocket launchers. You can also add gadgets to Spidey's arsenal, and these allow you to approach combat in different ways. If you're taking down a group of thugs, it helps to use something like a web bomb, which will tie multiple enemies up in a web. If you're badly hurt, it helps to get some distance and use gadgets like the web blaster, which hits single enemies and knocks them backwards. These kind of gadgets add more enjoyment to combat because they allow you to try out different things opposed to doing the same thing over and over and over again. If you're tired of fighting enemies the classic way, you can also go into stealth mode to take down a room full of bad guys. Stealth missions never really appealed to me. I usually get bored after 5 minutes and instead decide to fight my way through, but with this game I found it incredibly fun to just sneak around as Spider-Man and come up with fun ways of disabling enemies without being seen. There's a couple of ways that you can sneakily take down bad guys. You can either get above them and pluck them from the ground, instantly webbing them to a wall, or you can sneak behind them and web them to the ground. Gadgets can also be used in stealth mode to disable enemies, and that makes this whole side of combat more enjoyable just because you can use your imagination to come up with different takedowns. At different points throughout the game, you'll also come into contact with some of Spidey's most iconic villains, and as you can imagine, this usually results in an epic scale battle. Boss fights are remarkably enjoyable, and while I won't spoil any of the villains that Spidey goes up against, I will say that the game does a fantastic job of creating a unique form of combat when you're going against some of the bigger villains in the game. Spider-Man also takes the time to flesh out the guy under the mask, and you get to complete certain missions as Peter Parker. While some of these can get boring, they help to push the story forwards and they do let you build a connection with the character. You end up really caring about Peter's relationships, whether that be with his boss Otto Octavius, his Aunt May, or even Mary Jane Watson. You also get to play as other side characters such as Mary Jane and Miles Morales at certain points throughout the game, and while you might expect that to be boring or even irritating, it can actually be a lot of fun. There's one mission in particular where you play as Mary Jane in Grand Central Station, which turned out to be a lot of fun, and while you might find yourself wishing you could just play it as Spider-Man, these missions help to push the story forward and develop the side characters. The game is also filled with awesome Easter eggs that Spider-Man fans will undoubtedly enjoy. One of the first things I did when I got the game was just to swing around New York looking for Easter eggs, and there are so many to find, from Avengers Tower to the Sanctum Sanctorium, and many, many more that I won't even spoil here. As you've probably already seen, the game also gives players a wide variety of costume choices. You can unlock different Spidey costumes by completing side missions or challenges, and while I usually don't really care what my character is wearing, I found myself trying really hard to complete a task so that I could unlock a new costume. Since I'm a massive movie nerd and I love Tom Holland's version of Spidey, I wore the Stark suit for most of the game, but it was really fun to switch suits every now and again to give the game a different look and a different feel. You can also give suits unique abilities, which makes the changing of costumes more than just a cosmetic element of the game. Different suits help Spidey in different ways, and I know for a fact that Spider-Man fans will have a lot of fun playing around with the different costumes and finding their favourite. Photo mode also makes the different costumes a worthwhile addition. At any point throughout the game, even in cutscenes, you can enter photo mode and create the perfect picture before sharing it on your social media accounts. Sometimes it's fun and refreshing to take a break from the game and create a really beautiful picture to share with your friends. And speaking of beautiful, I played this game on a PlayStation Pro, and I've got to say that this might be one of the most beautiful games that I've ever played. In terms of graphics, Spider-Man is so stunning and utterly breathtaking to look at, especially when you're just swinging through the city as the sun's starting to set. The amount of time and detail that's gone into creating a realistic New York is astounding, and the fact that this game looks so beautiful just makes the overall experience of playing more enjoyable. Even when you're not following the main campaign, there's still plenty to do in this game. There's a bunch of different side missions and challenges for you to complete, and that's actually one of my only issues with the game. Some of these challenges feel a little bit uninspired and can get repetitive and even boring. For the most part though, these side tasks are actually a lot of fun. I especially liked looking for the backpacks, and they do add a lot of playtime to the game. Probably my favourite thing about Spider-Man was the actual story. I know this gets said about a lot of games these days, but this really did feel like a movie, and I don't just say that because it looks cinematic. It feels like a film in the way that the story's told and the way that the game develops its characters. The people that made this have come up with a Spider-Man journey that's completely original, and it's just such a well-told and brilliantly constructed story. There were moments where I was literally gasping and even crying, which it's never happened to me while playing a game before. This game makes good use of its characters as well. Like I said, I don't play that many games, but this is easily the best connection that I've ever made with a video game character. And in terms of Spider-Man, this is easily one of the best versions of the web slinger that we've ever seen. This version of Spidey is so much fun to watch and to play as. He's hilarious, and he felt just as real and just as layered as any version that we've seen on the big screen. So I think it's fair to say that Spider-Man absolutely lives up to the hype, and I wasn't disappointed in any way, shape or form. This is a brilliant game, it's a brilliant addition to the Spider-Man legacy, and I just can't wait to see what's in store for the future of Spider-Man on this platform. If you were on the fence and didn't know if Spider-Man was for you, I'd definitely say it's worth checking out, if only because it really is a great Spider-Man story. And that's the end of my Spider-Man review. Have you played the game? Have you completed it? If so, let me know what you thought in the comment section below. And if you're listening on YouTube, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. Hopefully I'll see you in my next episode, but for now, thanks for listening. I'll see you later.